This is a creative piece from ScribersHive Europe, giving the youth a voice that matters.
Hello, this is ScribersHive Europe, and today we'll be joined with Yusuf, Ruma, myself, Asya, and Farah, and we'll be discussing mental health, education, maybe a bit about representation as well. So, I thought we could start with discussing our own experiences in education and what we think about the system.
Okay. Hi everyone. So my name is Ruma, and I was last in formal education in 2010 when I completed my midwifery degree. Following that, I did do some post-module courses, but they were always related back to the to midwifery or healthcare services. Since then, I have been doing some vocational courses, but usually they're to develop myself as an individual. So it'd be quite nice for me to hear about people who are currently in the formal education and see what the differences are.
Hi, my name is Yusuf. I'm currently still in education. I've completed my second year of university, so I would say my experiences have shown me that at the moment being in university is like much different to being in sixth form and primary school and the years before that. But generally speaking, as you get older, you tend to become a bit more independent. Things aren't really reinforced a lot. It's up to you to take things in control. So just for now, I can just say that I'm enjoying it, and I'm just taking it each day as it comes.
Hi, I'm Asya, and I'm still in education as well. I've just started my first year at university, and until recently I was at school, and I'm studying in London right now. My main area of interest when it comes to education is sort of the mental health issues that I found are very prevalent among young people, and the support that we get by not only the adults and people who are running the system, but also sort of the atmosphere that's created by the exam system and the pressure on young children because of employment issues. So maybe that's something that we could discuss now.
Absolutely. I personally feel that a lot of what I learned at university, or even during my A-levels, I'm not using today. And I look back and I think, I was under so much pressure to get a certain grade or to complete certain tasks that I feel have just gone to waste. And I feel that that time at me being at university could have been utilised better to help me to develop life essential skills so that I could cope when I was in the real world. I find that most of the important lessons that I'm learning are now being done by making mistakes, or approaching people who've have some experience in that. And as I'm getting older, I'm finding that I really do need a mentor to teach me the things that perhaps I should have known when I was doing my A-levels or my GCSEs. And I just feel like it's such a shame that there's not more focus given to that, because what is the point of creating, what is the point of having qualifications if people don't even know some of the basic skills like manners, or how to exchange money, or how to budget. A lot of people end up leaving university with debts, and they spend the next 25 years of their life or less trying to pay off those debts, and it's a rude awakening when you leave with a diploma or a degree and a debt.
Do you think that might be maybe a good thing? Because a lot of people do tend to, not everything you said is a good thing, but the fact that it is a learning curve, because most people do make mistakes as they go along. No one really follows. There's no blueprint. So things like mentors and people who have experienced things before you, passing it down to you will help. But at the same time, don't you think a lot of people need to fall down as well themselves to learn actually? Because a lot of teachers and people, professional people, might give advice that people don't necessarily follow. But then when they make the mistakes, they realize actually what I was told was really, it was actually, if I was to do that, things would have turned out better. So at the same time, like me personally, a few mistakes, and I realized working hard at certain times, that maybe a bit of procrastination now and then, and when I don't get the amazing grade that I initially wanted, and I'm able to, next time I know what to do. So at the same time, do you see maybe that mistakes are also crucial to make?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the journey of life where, we in my opinion, those mistakes are part of our learning progress as well. Those are areas that we can strengthen our skills and knowledge in. And it's nice that you have your teachers teaching you, like they're giving you the guidelines, and then like a safety environment, a safe environment, so that if you fall, they can help you climb back up again and like give you the advice and the help that you need. It's just when you don't have that safe environment anymore, like once you leave university, you're there out in the open world, and you may not be working in an environment that has that safety network for you to fall back on.
I want to pick up on 2 points that you're both talking about. Firstly, about how you reflected on how your A-levels, GCSEs, university, you found that a lot of what you learned wasn't actually particularly useful for your life. I would agree with you on that. For example, especially when I was doing GCSEs, and for people in my year group below, GCSEs were just about memorization. I didn't learn. In reflection, at the time, I was so grateful because it was very easy for me to just learn a page and then get really good marks. But in hindsight, now I wish that there'd been more education as opposed to just memorizing some vocabulary, and especially with languages. So I did French GCSE, and to get an A or an A star in that, you had to learn 5 paragraphs off by heart, and if you said them well enough, you would get an A star. And at the time, I was like, this is great, I can get a really good grade without any work. But now, especially on this ScribersHive Europe week, I've realised I don't understand anything to do with modern languages. I wish I'd known more French, or at least been given the encouragement to pursue it, because at GCSE, when I was like, this is so boring, I don't really want to carry it on, and it was a phenomenon across the whole nation that languages just dropped. Barely anybody takes them at A level or further, and I think learning languages is so crucial as a life skill. It's probably one of the most important ones, but people in Britain barely learn them, just expecting everybody else in the world to speak English, and the education system does not encourage it at all. You don't learn anything. So
can I also add to that, like being in the ScribersHive European program has just made me realize how little I can communicate in a different language, like a European language, and I feel quite embarrassed because I took Spanish as a GCSE, and I can't even understand most of what is being spoken around me, and I feel that if there was more emphasis on learning these skills to help us be better people, to help us better interact with other human beings, then I might have taken it more seriously, as opposed to, I need this certain grade to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to add to that, I do think that there is a common criticism about the way people learn languages in this country. They tend to learn to just pass, probably not really learning to actually want to learn the language. And that is quite common regarding across the whole curriculum. People tend to just, they pick subjects that they might think later on will be more useful, maybe. I remember picking my options in I think it was year 9, and what I wanted to do this year, and they were telling me, take humanities, pick a foreign language, a modern language to learn, and then if you wanted to do like the international baccalaureate, and I never even ended up doing the IB. So just ahead of time, people are already thinking, what could I possibly use this for? So they're thinking about passing already.
And I don't want to put any blames on teachers. Teachers are doing a wonderful job. It's that they themselves are being conditioned to teach in a certain way, and often they are overwhelmed with paperwork. And they're so stressed with all the tick boxing that they're having to do, and all the other kind of work that are happening behind closed door that we don't know about, that they don't have the energy and the time to give to their students on an individual basis and give them that mentoring and support that they need. And that's such a shame. It's not just the NHS that has staff that's burning out. It's our education institutions. You have extremely exhausted teachers who, honestly, they take their work back home with them to complete, and if the work is not completed, then they get penalised for it. And I honestly I really admire them for what they're doing. They are nurturing our young people, helping them to be better people. But it's just unfortunate they don't actually get the opportunity to do that to the best of their ability.
Yeah, and also picking up on the whole making mistakes aspect of learning. I think that even something that I've noticed, especially in my final years of school, making mistakes is now it's looked down upon, and it's incredibly difficult if you do make a mistake to pick yourself back up and carry on, especially in the education system. I know a lot of my peers at school who, from the age of 11, when I was talking to them, were like, oh, I really want to be a doctor, I really want to be a dentist or a vet and whatnot, and they kept that dream until year 12, 17, when they were deciding what they wanted to apply for. And the second they started to drop in biology or maybe not do as well in chemistry, my head of sixth form was like, you're not going to make it, you need to change what you want to do. And one of my friends who I'd known for 7 years wanted to do medicine was like, well, clearly I'm not good enough for this. I'm not getting the marks that I necessarily need. I'm not keeping up as much as even though I'm working so hard. So she's changed to economics now and she's happy. But it makes me think that it's so difficult to make a mistake and you're looked down upon or you're judged, especially this culture of taking a gap year or reapplying. I know a lot of people who either judge you or they say, oh, why have you made that choice? Just choose something else. So the education system is not there to support you for something that you really want to do. It's incredibly difficult to just carry on the route that you want to.
Absolutely, and I also think that it breaks relationships up. I've known girls that I were very, very close to when I was doing my GCSEs who had to repeat some of their GCSEs, which meant that I wasn't in any of the classes and I was doing my A-levels. And that separation, it made it difficult for the person on the other side who was having to repeat the course, because they felt like they were looked down on, and they felt like they weren't good enough, and perhaps that low self-esteem made them go further and further away from me and other friends that they had. And honestly, even now to this very day, I feel like they don't want to connect because that they were already separated at that tender age, and they feel like they will never be able to get back to that same level because of what's happened to them in the past.
Yeah, you do tend to hear a lot of, when you hear a success story, you hear about how certain teachers might not have believed in them, and for example, I remember when you're applying for university and you're trying to convince your teacher maybe to up your predicted grade level, and then some person might end up managing to convince their teacher to change it, and then they end up getting into the university. So what would have happened if that wasn't the case? Would they have had to maybe not been able to go to a top 10 university in the country? But yeah, there's a lot of things happen across a very short term, although the effects of them are very long term.
Yeah.
Leading to that as well, I got a question for you. So once you go through the education system and here in UK, and you graduate from university, do you feel like you were prepared for the working life, or do you feel at the moment as a student you're being prepared for what comes as your next chapter in your adulthood?
Personally, I don't feel like I've lucky enough to have done jobs and sort of things outside of education that give me an idea of practical life. But when I'm going to lectures and I'm solely focusing on university, it's, on the one hand, it's great, I'm like learning the subject that I really enjoy, but I'm not being given any practical skills. And certainly people don't have the time necessarily, because you're trying so hard to keep up and make sure you don't fall behind, and there's so much pressure to get a first or a 2-1 so that you can actually get employed. You don't have time to think about what's the experience that I need to even get employed. You're just looking at this number, and it's brain, like from an early age, it's indoctrinated that it's the numbers that matter, it's the grades on the sheet that matter, when increasingly it's the experience that matters a lot more. And universities and people who are working in the education system have not adjusted for that. So it's a lot more, it's fine, obviously it's great that you're working hard towards your degree, but there's not enough versatility across the whole system to encourage people to get more than one life skill.
Yeah, even increasingly, a lot of big firms are also looking to start dropping their grade requirements as well. So even now, experience is a lot more important than before. So I think university students are in a place where they might have been comfortable and just knowing that if I get first or if I get 2-1, then the job market won't be as competitive for me but that's not the case anymore. A lot of it is moving to a place where people are getting experience wherever they can, and a lot of it is more of a level playing field, I think.
And I'm glad that is the case, it's starting to become the case, because when I hear about the statistics or the rates of suicide amongst the young people who are in higher education, it just shocks me to think that they felt so under pressure to be a certain way or to get a certain grade, that they felt there was nothing that they could do, that they had to end their life.
Exactly. Yeah. You hear that the pressures of education being really difficult and not enough support for them to get through university life, or in some cases where you hear stories of like, or even I've come across young people that have graduated, they've got incredible grades, but they just can't find any work, and that results to isolation and depression, and then dealing with mental health as well. So, what advice would you give, or what are you currently doing now to help you prepare for once you graduate and move into? So I say you mentioned that you don't have enough time to get the practical skills, but what are you doing to compensate and also prepare?
Well, me personally, I'm trying to apply for as many things as possible, including this ScribersHive Europe thing. It's just one of a few things that I'm trying to do, and especially at university there's a lot of extracurricular that you can do and get involved in. So I'm doing a lot of theatre work with the university, and it's given me a lot of understanding of time management, learning lines, teamwork, because I have to work with the cast. And even though it's an extracurricular that I do at the end of the university day, I'm learning a lot more life skills from it and also enjoying it, so it's like a good combination. But I'm so busy, I'm so burnt out a lot of the time because I'm trying to do so much and fit so much in. It's not very practical, but it's like I'm trying to do the best I can. But a lot of people, even if they're doing that much, you'll see most of the conversations I have with a lot of people are, oh, you're exhausted. Yeah, I'm exhausted too. And I've never ever heard from anyone that they're not tired or they haven't had enough sleep that night. Often my friends that I speak to, they're like, oh yeah, on a good day I get 4 or 5 hours of sleep if I'm lucky, and it's so unhealthy. But you're trying to fit in so many things so that you can have a good future or like have some downtime to yourself, that it's just not practical and it can't be upheld.
I'm personally looking to add it, start changing, because I think you've just started, is that correct? University.
Yeah.
It seems like you're already on the right track, because me, when I was in my first year, I wasn't too focused about what could possibly come later on, so I wasn't really involving myself. I'd attend a few events run by different societies, but I wouldn't really be part of the organisation of many of the events but I think my second year I really improved from that. So it is very important for young students to not forget. Of course, enjoy your time at university, but not forget that how competitive the job market's getting, and you do need to get practical skills from elsewhere. And because you might end university having not had a job, but at the same time, there's many things that you've involved yourself in that you can talk about at interviews and in your applications.
So I did a degree that would help me to get a job. I did a degree in midwifery, and soon after I finished my degree, I started working, and I've been working non-stop for maybe 7 years until I decided I needed some time out for my brain to actually relax and address and mental health issues I was facing at that time. And so this year I've given myself that time off to explore things that I haven't been able to do when I was extremely busy working for the NHS and the private sector, and then like with NGOs as well. And exploring art and expressing myself through spoken word and writing, and did a bit of theatre work as well. And the message I want to give is that don't be afraid of what other people are going to say. If you decide that you need some time out, even if it's for a year or two, take that time out. It will help you to refocus on what's important to you and not what society is telling you should be important to you. Mm-hmm. And allow yourself to be the person that you want to be. Try not to aspire to be like someone else. Yes, you can you can aim for their similar characteristics and skills, but you are you, and no one else can be you. So embrace that.
Mm-hmm. I was speaking to somebody from Germany the other day, and I was saying how taking a gap year in this country, from what I've noticed from the people that I'm surrounded by, is it's kind of mocked or taboo, or people instantly have an assumption that you're dumber than everybody else, or that kind of vibe. And she was saying how that was so weird because in Germany almost everybody takes a gap year. It's very weird to go straight into university after you finish school, and I think that's such a better approach. Everybody needs 1 year because school is such an intense experience. It's 13 years continuously, and especially by the end you've taken so many exams, you've had to do a year of UCAS applications, or if not UCAS, trying to figure out what you want to do in a country where there's very little support outside of going to university, and doing A-level exams and trying to adjust to starting a new life next year. And it's really sad to see that barely anybody takes a break or a year out to just learn about themselves, and you're just burnt out completely. I came in September, and I'm really grateful that I'm here and I'm getting my education, but I'm very sometimes jealous of my friends who are on gap years and are doing all the things that they're interested in without the same pressure that's always on you. So I think it should be more encouraged to take a year out, even if not before university, maybe after for a year, just any time to just breathe and reflect.
Yeah, breathing, reflecting, that's two things that it might be a bit difficult to do, but it's really important because you'll find yourself a bit suffocated from, constant rejections. Maybe later on when you're constantly applying, you then end up lacking motivation to do anything. So then you kind of end up taking a gap year reluctantly, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Even after you finish university, you can find yourself a whole year outside of work and just lacking the motivation to then pick yourself up. So if you're able to proactively, take a gap year or take time to plan, reflect, you can avoid that maybe.
Yeah, so that was a really good discussion. I think there was a lot more we could say about this topic because it's so wide and important. But yeah, we have a website, ScribersHive, online, and we also have social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And this was
continue the conversation there. Come speak to us.
Yeah, continue and see what else you can find. Thank you, Ruma, Yusuf, myself, and Farah.